quite an interesting personality. And since this is Disappearance Day, we'll start first by singing the song to the departed Vaishnava. And these appearance and disappearance days are so important because on these days, we can actually connect very deeply with these different personalities who only business of coming to this world was to spread Krishna prem. And start with singing the prayers to the Vaishnavas on page 78 in the songbook. Ye Anilo Pramadana. And this is by Shilanaratam Das for lamentation due to separation from the Lord and his associates from Pratana. Ye Anilo Pramadana Aruna Racho. Oh. Ye Anilo Pramadana Karuna Racho. Oh. Eno Prabhu Buddha Gila Acharya Thakur. Oh. Eno Prabhu Buddha. Can someone open the door for Tani? Eno Prabhu Buddha Gila Acharya Thakur. Oh. Kamura Warurupa Sananta Sahadasa Ragu Nata Patita Baba Kamura Bata Yuga Kavira Eka Kale Gota Gela Gorana Dara Kasane Kutibo Mata Anale Kasibo. Oh. Goranga Gunera Niki Kotagele Pabo. Oh. Te Saba Sangera Sange ye koilo bila te sanga na pale kande narota moda Eanilo Ramadana Aruna Pracho Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Jaya Vaishnava Thakur, Jaya Vaishnava Thakur, Jaya Vaishnava Thakur, Jaya Vaishnava Thakur. He who brought the treasure of divine love, and was filled with compassion and mercy, where has such a personality as Srinivas Acharyagan? Where are my Swarup Damodar and Sri Rupa Goswami? Where is Sanatana? Where is Rangnath Das, the savior of the fallen? Where are my Rangnath Bhatta and Gopal Bhatta? And where is Krishna Das Kaviraj? Where did Lord Gauranga, the great dancer, suddenly go? I will smash my head against the rock and enter into the fire. Where will I find Lord Gauranga, the reservoir of all qualities? Being unable to attain the association of Lord Gauranga, accompanied by all these devotees in whose association he performed his pastimes, Srila Narottam Das simply weeps. So as I mentioned before, today we're going to be reading and discussing Abhiram Gopal Thakur. And actually he gave special mercy, we'll hear about, to Srinivas, who was in this song. And also in our Srimad Bhagavatam class, we're discussing about Balaram. And in this particular pastime, Nityananda, who is non-different from Balaram, also plays a big role. So Krishna always brings everything together to nourish our deeper understanding and appreciation. So I'm just going to check my phone because somebody was texting me and I wanted to make sure there wasn't some problem with the mic. And I guess that was it. It just needed to go down a little bit lower. So, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today I offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master, unto Srila Prabhupada, unto all the previous acharyas, and unto all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. Om Gana Timiranda Sya Gana Gana Shalakaya Chaksumilitanyana. Taismai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Srinivare Pashtashtapine. So somehow or other, I just had so much fun reading and meditating on Abhidhamma Gopal. very unusual personality and a very unusual story. So I was very much appreciating it. When Drishta Prabhu first told me I was giving this class, I had him confused with somebody else. And then when I started reading it, I remembered, oh, yes, such a fun pastime, especially because he is a very dear associate of Lord Nityananda. And we know that Nityananda is such an avaduta, and this Aviram Gopal Thakur is a very unusual personality. So I'm going to read some and then from the different biographies and then also discuss. Shri Abiram Gopal Thakur, also known as Sri Ramdas, he was a great devotee of Lord Nityananda. On the order of Sri Nityananda Prabhu, he became a great acharya and preacher of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. So we know that Lord Nityananda is the Adi Guru, the original Guru, and he is, that's not Adi Guru, the Akhanda Guru, excuse me. Krishna is the Adi Guru. He's the Akhanda Guru, and he encompasses all gurus. And we know in the past time, Raghunath Das Goswami, when he got the mercy of Nityananda, he was able to be with Lord Chaitanya. So here we see Abhiram Gopal Thakur. He got the mercy and the order of Nityananda to become a great acharya and preacher. So a great acharya and preacher of Gaudiya Vaishnavism is not someone who's a self-made guru, but is someone who's become empowered by the previous acharyas, become empowered by the Lord. He was a very influential personality, and atheists and blasphemers were very much afraid of him. So this also brings to my thought about, like now many devotees are honoring the 150th anniversary of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And we know that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he also was very influential, and the atheists and blasphemers were very much afraid of him because he was so strict in the Siddhanta and uncompromising. Empowered by Sri Nityananda Prabhu, he was always in ecstasy and was kind to all fallen souls. So we see that Nityananda is very merciful, where Lord Chaitanya was mostly preaching to very high-class brahmanas and intelligentsia. Nityananda was giving the mercy to the most fallen. So this Abhiram Thakur, being empowered by Nityananda, he was also giving the mercy to the most fallen. It is said that if he offered obeisance to any stone other than a shalagram shila, it would immediately burst into pieces. According to Gaura Gaunadeshika Deepika, in Krishna Leela, he was Sridham, one of the 12 prominent cowherd boyfriends of Sri Krishna. He was Nityananda's dearmost devotee. Abhiram Gopal's wife name was Sri Malini. So I'm going to go into the story of how Sridham became Abhiram Gopal Thakur a little bit later. Abhiram Gopal Thakur lived in Kanakula, Krishnanagar. Kanakula, Krishnanagar may be visited by taking the narrow gauge train from Harwar station of Calcutta to Amrita. It is located in the present Hugi district of West Bengal. There in Kanakula, Krishnanagar, near the bank of the Kan River, is a temple of Abhiram Thakur. Because it is a town, Nagara, with a Krishna temple, the town is called Krishnanagara. And because the temple is on the Kula banks of the Kana, it is called Kanakula Krishnanagar. Just south of the temple is Bakula tree. This place is also known as Siddhabakula Kunj. It is said that Abhiram Thakur used to like sitting beneath this tree. We know Haridas Thakur also had a special place that he would sit in Puri. So these personalities are not ordinary living entities, as we'll see, but they come here to help the conditioned souls. The story of how the Gopinath deity of Kanakula Krishnanagar was established is as follows. One day, the deity of Gopinath appeared to Abhiram Gopal in a dream and informed him that he wanted to manifest himself in Kanakula Krishnagara. it is said that he was buried in the earth, and then in the dream he ordered Abraham Gopal to excavate him and inaugurate his worship. So, can anyone tell me what other deity appeared like this? What story this reminds you? When the deity appeared to someone and told him, I'm buried here, I'm very hot. Madhavendapuri. So we see how the deities are speaking to these great personalities. Please, it's time for me to be worshipped. It is said that he was buried in the earth and that in the dream he ordered Abraham Gopal to excavate him and inaugurate his worship. Abraham Gopal went to the place where the Lord had indicated he'd be found and began excavation and excavate him and inaugurate his worship. And he began excavation. There, after digging for some time, he found the mind-enchanting deity, Sri Gopinath. So the Krishna comes, and he comes in a very attractive form, which steals the mind of the living entities. The place where the discovery was made is now called Ramakund. There is a small lake there. The Bhakti-Rakara says, after having excavated the Gopinath deity, all the devotees headed by Sri Ramdas, Abhiram Gopal, bathed in the sacred waters of the Kunda near the spot where the deity had been found. From that day on, okay, I can hear better now. From that day on, the Kund became famous as Ramakund. Whoever bathes here becomes free from repeated birth and death. So because the great devotees had bathed there, and then anyone who goes there gets great mercy. One day, Sri Abhiram Gopal was overwhelmed with the ecstasy of Sakiras and had a desire to play the flute of a cowherd boy. So we will read about how actually he is Sridham, who is a cowherd boy, who is used to playing with Krishna. Actually, I'm just going to tell the story now. It's later on in one of the other ones, but I'll tell it now. So one day in Braj, Krishna and the cowherd boys were playing hide and seek. And we know that Krishna would go out to the pastures and there were so many different caves and gunds and the boys would love playing. So Krishna and the cowherd boys, they were playing. And then all of a sudden, Krishna thought, oh, let's go to Nadia. Let's go to Nadia. Let's go to Navadvip Dham. So Krishna had a desire to go to Navadvip. So he called all his friends, let's go, let's go. But meanwhile, Sridham was in a cave because he was hiding, and they all left without him. So Sridham was left in this cave. This is a story told by the local people. Sridham was left in this cave. And then one day, Lord Chaitanya was singing and dancing with his associates in Navadvip Dham. And then he was like, oh, where is Sridham? Where is Sridham? What has happened to my Sridham? Where is Sridham? And so then he said, I must have my Sridham. Nityananda, please find him. And Nityananda said, he's in Braj. He's in Braj. I'll go find him. So Nityananda dressed himself very beautifully, as we know, with his blue dhoti and a nice turban and looking like a cowherd boy. But in Krishna's age in Dwapara Yuga, Sridham was still in Dwapara Yuga, at the body of Dwapara Yuga, people were very tall. So Nityananda was the size that people were, different size. I mean, compared to me, he was very large, compared to most of us, but not like the time of Krishna, Arjuna, and Balarama. So actually, so Nityananda, being non-different than Balaram, he goes to Braj and he's looking. So then he finds a cave and he finds Sridham. And then Sridham sees him and he's, who are you? Who's this strange person dressed with blue and wearing this turban? And he goes, I'm Balai. I'm Balaram. No, you can't be Balaram. You're so short, you know. You're completely short. You can't be Balaram. He goes, no, I am. I'm Balaram. And Kanaya has sent me, you know, and he goes, no. You know, he was just like not going to believe it. Plus, he was also not very happy because he had been left behind. So he was there's kind of sulking. He was upset with everyone that they just left him. So he goes, no, but he's calling you, wants you to come. I don't want to go, you know. I was left behind. I'm not going to go, and I don't know who you are anyway. No, I'm Balaram. And then he said, well, if you're Balaram, and this is where it relates to what we've been reading in the Bhagavatam about how strong Balaram is when he's fighting with Lushtika. If you're Balaram, then you'll be able to show it. And he goes, so I'm going to go running and see if you can catch me. You know, I'm going to go running. So, of course, Sridham was much larger, so his legs would go much farther, and he was running very, very fast. And he started running around Govardhan Hill. He started running around Govardhan Hill. And then Nityananda, who's non-different than Balaram, he kept up with him. And he ran around 4 times. He followed him and he ran around 4 times. And then because he ran around 4 times, then Sridham said, oh, I can understand that you were actually Balaram. So there's 2 stories. One story is that Nityananda caught him, that he caught him. And the other one is that he just ran around and he proved it to him. And so then he said, come on, we have to go to Nadia. I don't want to go to your Nadia. What is this Nadia place, you know? And he said, no, the pastimes are going on there, you know. It's so important you come. I don't want to go, you know. So then there's one pastime that he just goes with Nityananda, and there's another that he creates an expansion of himself, and he leaves one and one goes. So he also became known as Rama, and as we said in the beginning, he's a very, very dear associate of Lord Nityananda. And he is one of the original Gopals. A very interesting personality. So now getting back to this part of the story. So he is in Sakyaras because he's Krishna's dear friend and one of Krishna's best friends. And Sridham is Radharani's brother. So he's a very, 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 very important personality. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was like, I can't be here without him, you know. But because he got left explain that because he got left behind, even when he comes as Sri Abhiram Gopal, he's a little bit grouchy sometimes, you know. He's a little bit grouchy. So anyway, he desires to play a flute. Yeah. He desires to play a flute, but their time is different, you know, the different passions. He wants to play a flute, and he's looking everywhere to find a suitable bamboo for a flute. He looked through the forest, and all at once he saw this gigantic log. So it says here, the log was so huge that 16 men could not move it. Grabbing hold of that log, he turned it into a flute and began to play upon it. The Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Ram Das was one of the principal branches of the Nityananda branch of the Chaitanya tree of Bhakti. He was full of Sakya Prem, love of Krishna, saturated with the mellow of friendship. He once picked up a log that 16 men couldn't lift and used it as a flute. So what I always find really amazing about Chaitanya Leela is that it's not something that happened 5,000 years ago. It's something that's in the same historical context, like when we were going to school and we studied, you know, the history of people coming to America or the history of India. It's in our time. You know, so here he is, this like amazing personality, and he, you know, picks up this absolutely gigantic log, and that becomes a flute, because he was so in that mood of ecstatic love. And he was given the name Abhiram because it means like non-different from Ram, non-different. Sri Abhiram Thakur had a bullwhip that was imbued with divine power. Its name was Jaya Mangal. Whoever was struck with this whip became filled with Krishna Prem. One day, Srinivas Acharya went to take darshan of Abhiram Gopal. At that time, Abhiram Gopal touched him 3 times with Jayamangal. The Thakur's good wife, Malini, cried out, "My lord, do not touch him again. Calm yourself. Srinivas is only a boy. If you touch him again, he will lose consciousness." As a result of coming in contact, the whip of Abhiram Thakur, Srinivas Acharya became filled with Sri Krishna Prem. So here we see, well, I was thinking about, we would think, well, can someone just like hit me with something and I'll get Krishna Prem? And I remember in the early days there were many different yogis that were coming to America. So there was one that would come, and I went to this retreat one time, and if they tapped you on the head, then it would, anyway, it's supposed to get your kundalini going, but it's not that easy. But so what is the whip? I was thinking, but we are given that chance to become filled with Krishna Prem. So what is the whip? The whip is actually here in our time. The whip is hearing from the association of the great Vaishnavas that their words are sometimes like whips. Like now we're focusing on Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur a lot, and sometimes his words can be very cutting, or the instruction of the spiritual master can seem like very intense. But what is the purpose? The purpose is to actually free us of the unwanted anarthas in the heart, so that we can actually taste this Krishna Prem. We can actually experience it. And there's also the positive aspect too, that just by hearing about Abhiram Thakur and having faith in these pastimes, and having faith in Nityananda, and having faith in the process of devotional service given to us by Srila Prabhupada and our Guru Varga, then this Krishna Prem is actually reawakened within the heart. It's just a matter of nourishing it. And the nourishment comes through having high-class association and hearing. And I've also been meditating a lot on also that there's this tendency sometimes where there's this, like, I have to go here and I have to go there and I have to run here and I have to run there, like looking for nectar, that we don't see what's right in front of us. We don't see the personalities that are actually right in front of us. We don't see who they actually are because we're not able to. So that's why it's also so important to offer all respects to others and to appreciate the association we're given and appreciate the exalted life we're given, the enchanted life we're given. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ordered Nityananda Prabhu to preach in Bengal, he sent Abhiram Gopal and Gadadhar Das along with him. Simply upon seeing Abhiram Gopal, atheists and blasphemers would flee in terror. So he was just such a strong personality. Like I said, this reminds me so much of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, that there were people that would walk on the other side of the street. He was a remarkable scholar, well-versed in all the scriptures. He married his wife Malini upon the order of Sri Nityananda Prabhu. His disappearance day is on the 7th day of the dark moon in the month of Chaitra, and on that day, a great festival attended by thousands of devotees is held every year in Kanakula Krishna Nagara. So this is also a very important point that I think it was on a class where Krishna Goswami was giving online last night, a Jaiva Dharma class. And devotees were asking, if someone asked, well, can you actually, can a Uttama Bhakti actually be a grihasta? It was a question like that, So here we actually see in all the pastimes that, Abhiram Gopal Thakur is non-different than Sridham, an eternal associate of Lord Krishna, and he takes the role of being a householder in in these particular pastimes. So we see that um, it's the ashram is not an indication of what one's spiritual position is. See if there's anything else I wanted to read. I already told you about how he was upset. Oh, it was near Govardhan Hill that Nityananda started calling out Sridham again and again, and then Sridham came out of the cave to see who it was. Seeing the strange man dressed in blue, Sridham asked, "Who are you? Why are you calling me?" When he first was told to come with him, when Nityananda first told him to come with him to Navadvip, he said, if you accompany me, we'll have some special pastimes there. Come quickly." Sridham said, "No, I shall not go. Going with you means that I will have to live in someone's room there. Considering the pain, who wants to live in that condition, I will not go." Nityananda said, "Just come with me and let us discuss the matter with Kanai. You can remain for now as you are." Sridham laughed and said, "All right, then carry me on your shoulders," because they were like boys always playing. "All that running has made me tired." Nitai said, "If I refuse, then you will go around telling everyone that I cannot carry you because of the difference in our respective sizes. You are the chief amongst us coward boys. Please consider that you should be sympathetic about the happiness and distress of others." Sridham said, "Well, you and I are just the same. You very well know that when Krishna's side loses, I sometimes carry you on my back." Nityananda replied, "Everyone knows that you are subjugated by Kanai's love. None of the pastimes that happen in Braj, but day or night, unknown to you. All of the coward boys always sing your praises. Come now, let us go and meet Gauranga." So in Krishna's pastimes, Sridham is so important. And here he is coming now as Abhiram Thakur. All the 12 Gopals, who are the expansions of the 12 primate coward boys, Gopas in Krishna Lila, and 64 Mahantas are considered to be the most confidential associates of Mahaprabhu, know you and sing your praises. Hearing these words, Sridham went and got dressed. He dressed himself in a very enchanting way. The beauty of his hair, dress, and coward paraphernalia was extremely attractive. Soon the two of them approached Navadvip. When Sri Gauranga saw that they had arrived, he embraced Sridham and started talking to him. "Where have you been? What kind of bliss were you in that I had to send Nityananda to bring you here?" Sridham asked, "Tell me the reason for your appearance here. Why do you all have shaven heads and wear these rags? Seeing your condition breaks my heart." Mahaprabhu explained, "Sridham, with the end of Dwapara Yuga, the influence of Kali began. In this sage, renunciation is proper." Sridham said, "I don't understand. Please explain." In the mood of Krishna, Mahaprabhu said, "There are 4 yugas, Satya, Treta, Dwapara, and Kali. In Dwapara, Krishna Swayam Bhagavan. In Kali Yuga, he incarnates as Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Now in the beginning of Kali Yuga, I shall reveal this truth, which is mentioned in the Shastras. You should know that my form as Krishna Chaitanya is the very same as my form of Krishna. Gaura Lila and Krishna Lila are one. In Gaura Lila, I and my associates have assumed the role of devotees and are relishing the mellows of love of Krishna. Now my name is Krishna Chaitanya, and from today you will know known as Abhiram." So this is so beautiful how he was brought. And although the Lord knows everything, his devotees know the pastimes, but in order to relish the pastimes, he's asking, "Who are you and why am I here?" Nityananda Prabhu called everyone and smiling said, "From today he will be known as Abhiram. We have kept this name since it indicates there is no difference between Sridham and me. Abhiram to be known as Rama." So Sridham is so close to Lord Krishna And now Abhiram is so close to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. After the disappearance of Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu, Abhiram Thakur continued to live in Virabhaja Goswami, Nityananda Prabhu's son. By the grace of Nityananda Prabhu, Abhiram Thakur became a great acharya and preacher of the Chaitanya cult of devotional service. Vandeham Shri Gopinath Mahaprabhu Vijayate Yatrabi Shama Mahan Goswami Shayuta Padak Kamalam Malani Staitam Shaktave Sharam Stagana Chanam Bhuja Sadashanam Iti. Obeisances to Sri Gopinath, the worshipful deity of Sri Abhiram Thakur. All glory Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I always meditate on the lotus feet of the great Abhiram Goswami, the empowered incarnation, along with his spouse Malini and other associates. Again and again, I take shelter of their lotus feet. So, does anyone have any comments? We're kind of at the end before starting a new verse, unless you want me to just read the verse, but it's pretty close. Yeah. So I was thinking how this just really so much related to what we've been reading about in the Srimad Bhagavatam, because as we'll be reading tomorrow, like we know that Krishna was fighting with Chanura, and the fighting was actually very disturbing to the residents, the women there, because they were fighting hand in hand and foot in foot, and Krishna was enjoying the good fight. He didn't need to be fighting. He could have just annihilated him, but just one leaf. But he was fighting in this mood of fighting, but the women were becoming so upset. And then Balaram, he was fighting with Mushtika, and it was explained in a previous verse, in verse 12, that Balaram was getting so angry that his eyes were like glowing. His eyes were like glowing, like molten gold. And at this point, it was when Krishna will decide that it's time to kill the wrestlers and get on with his business of slaying Kamsa. So here we're reading about, in this pastime, we see that the demons are not destroyed in these fights, but it's the chanting of the holy name that the Lord comes, and his weapons are his associates in the chanting of the Holy Krishna mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So again, I would like to just summarize. So today we were speaking about Amiram Kaur Gopal, who was very famous. He had a beautiful Sri Gopinath deity who revealed himself to him. He was famous for having this whip, and anyone who was touched by the whip achieved Krishna Prem. He was very strong. He was able to lift up a log that 16 men couldn't lift up and use it as a flute. And he was absorbed in Sakyaras, being Sridham, and that he became a great preacher because he was empowered. He was empowered by Lord Nityananda. So we pray to Lord Nityananda that he can empower us to do some little service. We might only be able to lift a twig, but if we can somehow or other be able to distribute the holy names and become empowered in some way by our Guru and our Guru Varga. So thank you very much. All glory to the Prabhupada. Anyone have anything they want to share? Has anyone been to the temple of Gopinath? Been to his place? Yeah. I know I've heard of it, but I don't remember going there. I'm sure that Adi Dev and Divyanita Lila have been there. They've been to, well, she's from there, so they've been to all the different places of pastimes. Make us stop. It makes a big difference actually to know where places are and who the personalities are, what their service was. That's why it's so important on these appearances and disappearance day that we read about these different personalities. Not just we read about it like a history book, like we read it and then we forget, but what are the lessons, that I can learn? What is the example here that can be given? For me, so much is the taking shelter of Lord Nityananda and that desire to please Lord Nityananda, desire to please Lord Chaitanya. And the other message that came to me a lot is like how dear the devotees of the Lord are to the Lord. That Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was missing, as Krishna, he was missing Sridham. So it's explained in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita how Krishna is missing everyone. Krishna's within us, and he actually is always encouraging us to turn towards him. So how happy that day will be when we are reunited, and can actually become a part of the Lord's transcendental pastimes. Of course, Prabhupada said when devotees go out on Sankirtan that they're entering into Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. And our own life we can feel when we enter into the spiritual energy and we turn our head towards Krishna, we can feel the difference in that way. So thank you very much. All glories to the Lord. Oh, yeah. Right. That was what we read at the end. It's very cute, isn't it? Oops.
Purusham Amaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Amaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Amaham Bhajami Enam Kanvanta Maravindanalayatatam Bhagavatam Samasitam Buddhasundaram Kandar Vidamaniya Kishesha Shobha Govindam Adi Purusham Samaham Bhajami Govinda Adi Purusham Samaham Bhajami Govinda Adi Purusham Samaham Bhajami Andani Yasa Sakale Priya Priti Manti Vasyam Vipa Vikayanti Gira Praganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrasya Govindam Adi Purusham Amaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Hari Purusha Namaha Bhajami Govinda Hari Purusha Namaha Bhajami Govinda Hari Purusha Namaha Bhajami Hari Purusha Namaha Bhajami Govinda.
Hari Hari Vipale Gonainu Hari Hari Vipale Gonainu Manusya Janama Paya Radha Krishna Navajiya Manusia Janama Paya Radha Krishna Navajiya Janiya Suniya Visha Kainu Janiya Suniya Visha Kainu Lok Lokera Premadana Harinama Sankirtana Lokera Premadana Harinama Sankirtana Ratina Janmi Lokene Taya Ranina Janmi Lokene Taya Samsara Visanale Divani Shihiya Jwale Kara Vishanalae Divani Shihiya Jwale Judaite na koinu upaya Judaite na koinu upaya Rajendra Nandana ye Sachi Sutta Hoilo se Nandendra Nandana je Sutta Hoilo Balarama Hoilo Nitai Balarama Hoilo Nitai Dina Hinayata Chilu Harina Mehudarilo Dina Achachilo Ina Mahurarilo Tara Shakshi Jagai Madai Tara Shakshi Jagai Aha Prabhunanda Sutta Vrishavanu Sutta Yuta Nanda Sutta Vrishavanu Sutta Yuta karuna karo baro karuna baro Narottama kaya nateli horanga paya kaya nateli horanga paya Toma vine que ache amara Toma vine que ache amara Jaya Gauranita Jaya Gauranita Jaya Gauranita Jaya Gauranita Jaya Gauranita Jaya Jaya Gauranita Jaya Gaura Jaya Radha Golokananda Radha Golokananda Radhe Radha Golokananda Radha Golokananda Jaya Giri Govardhan 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 Jaya Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Shila Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Shila Prabhupada
Just want to mention that there's Harinam Sankirtan on a special time today on campus at UNC, and it's all on the Harinam Sankirtan WhatsApp. So please come. It's going to be from noon until 1 or 1:30. Hare Krishna. Vijavadu Jivanam Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam Pratipanam Purnamrita Swaranam Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatrapita Niyamita Smarane Nakala Etad Rishita Bhakripa Bhagavan Mamapi Dordaiva Midrishami Adjani Nanuraga Trinada Pi Sunichena Tarora Pi Suhishuna Amani Namanadena Kirtaniya Sadari Nadaram Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Va Jagadisha Kamaye Mama Janmani Janmani Ishvare Bhakti Hoita Ki Twai Ainanda Tanusha Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishame Bhavam Buddha Kripayata Vavada Pankaja Stita Duli Satrishim Vachintaya Nayanam Daraya Gira Pula Karnishitam Vapukada Tapanama Grahane Bhavishyati Yugayatam Namishena Chakshusha Pravashayatam Shunayatam Jagat Sarvam Govindam Virahiname Ashlisha Vapadam Ratam Rastumam Adarshanam Marmahata Karotuva Yatatata Bhavinito Lampato Matrananatastusa Evanapara. Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge, it is the ocean of transcendental bliss, and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, congregational chanting of your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you've invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One can chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than a straw on the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O Son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. Yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end with the recitation of your name? Inda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so, even if he handles me roughly by his embrace or makes me broken-hearted before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord unconditionally. Hare Krishna. And as I said before the Shikshastika, we're having Harinam today on campus at UNC by the Davis Library, and it starts at 12 and goes to 1:30. Please come. Hare Krishna.